it's amazing how we're sort of captives of the present, and people in our modern era feel that not only are they better than all prior generations because of the advances of their work, we rest on the shoulders of giants, but also the technology and the wealth is not comparable. We're so blessed, but we feel that that we're not subject to the same historical forces. So I went back and looked at a lot of wars, and I have most of my life, and most of them end with some type of settlement. Even World War II, there's still a Germany, a Japan, and a Italy of the defeated Axis powers. But every once in a while, something goes wrong and in a war, and it becomes existential, and the loser is unexpectedly or unpredictably wiped out. And by that, I mean erased. Language, culture, religion, and I was curious to see how that happened and how that could happen. And is it still relevant today? So I went back and picked four samples of ancient Thebes, the capital of the Greek area called Boeotia that was destroyed by Alexander the Great totally. Carthage is better known. In 146, Scipio Aemilianus wiped it out and razed it to the ground, destroyed all Punic culture that had been in North Africa for 800 years. And then Constantinople, it wasn't destroyed, but Byzantine society, religion, Orthodox religion, the Greek language, and the city itself was erased. And then the DNA was rebooted as the capital of the Ottoman Empire, and it slapped spires on the greatest cathedral in Christendom at Hagia Sophia, etc. And then finally, I picked Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, that Hernan Cortez, in the period of 3 years, off and on fighting, no more than 1,500 soldiers, but he wiped out an empire of 4 million and destroyed that city down to the foundation and destroyed the Nahuatl language, Aztec religion, et cetera, et cetera. And how this happened, I was looking for commonalities across these time and spaces. And they were kind of eerie because they seem to be frequent and familiar in the present, especially with vulnerable places like the Kurds or the Greeks or the Armenians or the Israelis. And even maybe us, because at one time, of course, the Ottoman Empire and the Aztec Empire and the Carthaginian Empire were huge. And just to sum up, the targeted and soon to be annihilated always believed there was help on the way, that at any moment the Genovese or the Venetians would sail up the Hellespont and save them from the Sultan. Or the Carthaginians said the Macedonians will tack to the rear of the Roman besiegers. Or the Thebans said Alexander the Great is dead, and when he wasn't dead and he showed up in front of their walls, all of a sudden the Spartans and the Athenians and the Corinthians decided that discretion was a better part of valor, and on and on. Same was true of the Aztec. Another element was that there's no realistic appraisal of where you are as a society compared to the relative strengths of your enemy. In other words, you say the Theodosian walls have never been broached in 1,100 years at Constantinople, or Carthage. In 149, we have the most impressive fortifications that are impenetrable. Or we all know about the seven-gated Thebes of myth and Oedipus. And so they don't look in a rational way. This is our physical situation. This is our fertility rate. This is our population. This is our military. This is our defense. And we're going to compare them with the people that are attacking us to see in a cost-benefit analysis what's going to happen. They also don't understand the nature of their enemy. They think, I mean, these destroyers of civilizations are not Attila the Hun or Tamerlane or some monstrous. They're intellectuals, and they're planning and they're deliberate. Alexander the Great was a student of Aristotle. Scipio was the pal of the historian Polybius. Cortez wrote the most eloquent letters to Charles V in Spain. And they are deliberate and they're scientific and they know exactly what they want to do and they know exactly. The other thing is, people believe it can't happen here. Surely they wouldn't want to destroy it. It's not in their interest to destroy us. They would be better to conquer us or incorporate us. And they don't realize that sometimes it is in their interest to destroy them, whether for economic or psychological or spiritual or cultural reason. And so there is a naivete. And then when you look at the world today, and I looked in the epilogue at some places, where you could have a similar scenario. Kim Jong Un, I think, really would like to destroy democratic South Korea as we know it, as a society and a civilization. The Iranians have said that one of the nice things about is, I'm quoting Rafsanjani 20 years ago, the nice things about Israel were half the world's Jews, they said, were in one place. And that made it a one bomb state, especially because they were the devout Jews that kept up Hebraic civilization and they were not part of the diaspora anymore. Just the other day, Erdogan said that he wanted to apply a 19th century solution to the Armenians that were bordering some Islamic states. He also said that one day the Greeks would wake up and they would be bombarded with a sea of Turkish missiles. And then, of course, almost every week, the Russians threatened to go nuclear in Ukraine. And the reaction, I try to chronicle it just briefly in the epilogue, but the reaction in the West is always, this can't happen. This is crazy. This is nuclear brinkmanship. It's just rhetoric. And often, and usually it is, but not always in history. And so we should be very careful when people who have the wherewithal threaten to wipe out a society. And we should also be very careful in adjudicating your country's strength or my country's strength, not by what we think it was in World War II or in the post-war era, but what it is vis-a-vis the Chinese or the Iranians or the Russians, etc.